We acknowledge the almighty power of this great universe, and we pay respects to the First Nations people of Canberra, the Ngunnawal people, their ancestors past, their elders present and future. We acknowledge His Royal Highness Crown Prince Dubodoa Ulukalala and the members of his house who are currently residing here in Canberra. The political leaders of this country. We also acknowledge Her Royal Highness Princess Latukefu Tukuaho, the Tongan High Commissioner here in Australia. Leaders of other Pacific Islander communities, the leaders of our Tongan community here in Australia, and all of you watching this Lo'au University multimedia program this Tuesday afternoon, 29th of March 2022 from Canberra, Australia. Welcome all to the Women in Dialogue program. I am here with Louisa Latukefu, who is the facilitator of this program, and she will introduce our topic for this afternoon a little bit later on. But before that, I would like to pinch a few minutes of this program with the permission of Louisa to quickly recap and show a few photos from our multimedia studio opening on the 5th of March, which was rather exciting. So if our technician is going to be bringing up a few photos while Louisa and I have a little chat about what happened on the day. Louisa, you do, I'm just thinking, I was just remembering the day and how wonderful and how excited we were on the day of this opening.
Yeah, that's right, Luseane, because we've been looking forward to that day, and we've been, and like especially and Professor Lafitani have been putting a lot of time into this preparation. So yeah, the excitement was really there, and I think we needed it with all that's been going on.
That's right. And I guess people who are watching this afternoon, this program, you have no idea the build-up and the excitement towards this opening. We've been waiting a while to have a new space, a bigger space for this studio, because we were all squashed for a lot of months in our dining room, but now we're quite spoiled. And I guess we have our wonderful builder, the own builder.
That's right.
Shiara, who made it all possible, and finally we were able to move into the studio. It hasn't come without any hitches, Louisa, as you know. Like anything, like any new thing, the planning, and it doesn't go smoothly all the time, but it was still exciting.
Oh, there you are. The man, is he saying the opening prayer?
No, I think the opening prayer, I don't think there's a photo of the opening prayer, Louisa.
Looking very
I think the
serious there, I think. Maybe a bit emotional, because we've all been waiting for this day.
Yes, because I think it was standing. So the next photo, please, if we're going through the... Of course, it's very nice to look at Latukefu there sitting quite seriously. Maybe looking at his phone. I'm not sure.
Oh, but there you are.
Yes, there is
there.
Yes. And Solomoni, who was looking after our camera.
He's our cameraman.
Yes.
I think he did a really great job there.
He did.
Yes.
He did. He's a quiet young man, and he was happy to do that. But and I guess we will upload or download, whichever way it is, that video on a later program. And there again, there is us. And it was a very, I guess, cloudy, and we were just waiting for the rain to come on that day, but we couldn't stop it. We just had to go. And
I don't think we really worried much about the weather that day, because we were really taken up with the time.
As you can see, the weather. There's Eliza, Professor Sewar's daughter, holding the umbrella to keep her dad nice and dry. But no one can.
Look at him. He doesn't even worry about the weather. He's been waiting for this day, so it's been I think we were more worried, Louisa, as a matter of fact. And there's the granddaughter.
There's my beautiful granddaughter Mia, looking at Latukefu or someone else behind him. But it was just a very heartwarming, happy day for us. And
It was for the family as well.
yes, yes,
Because I think they've been watching us and
yes.
like Mia's been watching her mum
That's
doing
right.
all that hard work.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's my son Grant in Fedora, little man Fedora,
Yeah,
who
the
enjoyed
man of the
himself.
house.
Yes, he bosses. He's the boss. He's the boss of our house.
Yes.
But it
And they've all been very much
thank
part
you,
of it.
Louisa.
Yes.
Look at you.
Yeah, I think
You-
I was expressing our
you
gratitude
were.
to our beautiful, builder there.
Yes, yes, yes.
Being proud of having our very own,
yes.
and she was
True.
really great, trying to
True.
make time,
Yes.
between work and family.
Yes.
Yes, so
Absolutely. And I think, Louisa, we were, Siwa and I were just so grateful for all the help. There was you and Latukefu popping in and helping, and Latukefu who did all the painting in there, and young David who came to help do the floors. Everyone had a part.
yeah,
Eliza was always here when she could with Shiara and learning to hammer away. It was quite funny seeing the family.
everybody is trying to help.
Yes.
Sort of in there.
There's our builder, Shiara, getting a bit of a gift from everyone, some flowers and a mat and a bit of pocket money.
I guess we were lucky she didn't charge us.
Oh my gosh.
We'd still be paying it off.
We really had mates rates. From Shiara, but she
And there she
absolutely
is
enjoyed it.
herself,
Yes, she
the
enjoyed
lady
it.
of the house.
Oh, there's
Luseane,
Mia.
all the
Yes.
support you've given,
Oh gosh,
being the driving force behind Professor.
loud,
Yeah,
sometimes too loud, and having to be reminded that sometimes I just can't help myself, Louisa.
you did a
It's
great
just a-
job with the floor. See?
Oh,
Really looks nice.
those
Yeah.
bamboo mats are beautiful, aren't they? They're
There's the
lovely.
library. You can see a bit of the library there at the
Yes.
entrance.
Yes, yes, yes. And that sliding door used to be a big roller door, and that was removed. And I was so surprised when they could take it off. But everything absolutely turned out how it was supposed
That's
to.
right.
Absolutely.
And one of the main street is just behind
Yes.
this side.
Yes.
Yes.
Right there, that's the driveway actually, everyone, that this is all happening at, which is and then to the entrance to the studio. But our children and grandchildren and friends, were just happy to be there. People couldn't make it because of various reasons, but we were happy.
Yes.
We were just happy to be there and to share some of the funny little stories and share some food. Yes, no, it was a beautiful, beautiful day. You and Latukefu have some beautiful shots there, Louisa. I think what I should do is
That's inside the house.
yes.
Afterwards, we were all celebrating still.
That's right. That's right. Everyone just sitting around, having a bit
So
of food.
excited and still talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Having a
little
bit
for
of
a
cake.
little bit of wine, bubbly.
Yes. Always nice with a bit of
Bubbly
bubbly.
to celebrate.
Can't celebrate
How
without
can you
bubbly.
have a celebration without our bubbly?
That's
Luseane?
right, that's right. It just, and not too much, you and I, 1 or 2 glasses and that's enough,
Yes.
to celebrate
We can
with.
giggle without the
Yes. Do you know, Louisa, I'm looking forward to the first cover circle to happen here at the studio. And some of our friends from ANU reminded us that we haven't had our cover yet.
bubbly. Oh,
So, yes, Professor Greg Fry
Yeah.
called in and said, when's the cover happening? So we need to get that happening soon. That'll be
and
exciting.
then we've got our own band now.
We do.
Yes.
The Lo'au band, and Saya is coming and a few of the boys are coming. Louisa, do you and
Yes.
I have any
I
thing to
think-
play? Do you play anything, Louisa?
Oh, I've got a lot of musical instruments at home. We've got bongo drums. We've got those little, what do you call those little triangular thing that you sort of
yes,
hit?
well, a triangle, I think it's called.
Yes. Yeah, and all sorts of instruments.
Yes. Oh, bring it, because then...
And there's that mouth organ, not that I can play,
play
but I guess somebody will play it.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And Latukefu was, he had the guitar tuned. And we've
nice.
got the ukulele as well.
And you know what, Louisa, can I tell you a secret? And I don't want you to tell anyone about this secret. I used to make my children laugh when they're little by trying to play the spoons. So I'm going to try and do that, because I can play the ukulele 3 chords. That's all I can play. And
I think that's quite a challenging instrument, because you really have to know how to do it.
Yes, you do. And maybe Luisa, this is our chance to learn. Maybe Saya can teach us to play the ukulele more, and to play the guitar. I know Latukefu plays the guitar, but I know you want to play the guitar, so maybe you and I can start learning something.
And the thing is, not only do I want to play the guitar, but I want to play, you know how they pick the strings?
Oh yes.
What do you call that?
Like the Spanish guitar.
Yeah, you know how they just pick the strings and not the strumming.
Yes.
Yeah, I like to be now. Is that asking too much?
No, not at all. And you know, Louisa, I come from a very, very musical family, especially my mother's side of the family. And my mother grew up learning a lot of instruments. So that was part of Grandpa, was that everyone had to learn to play something.
Yes.
So, and when I grew up, I had piano lessons. I can't even play the piano. So now my need to play or learn music has finally been awakened at this very late stage in my life. But you know, they do say it's never too late. So there you go. Louisa and I are going to be learning to play ukulele and guitar.
Yes.
You know, watch this space, because you never know, we might be sitting here one day playing you a song.
That's right.
Anyway, Louisa, I think that's the...
so that was a celebration afterwards.
Yes, our celebration.
I think it worked out very well.
It did, Louisa. It did.
And we had some guests there. Is that
We did.
Yeah, because she was tickle pink.
Oh, yes,
I think it brought her memories of her own family in New Zealand.
Absolutely, because we do. You know, that part of our conversations always go, sometimes get to family, get to DNA, get to our grandparents, get to family. So I think it's just important in our community, our connections to family, connections to land.
Yes.
So thank you so much for enjoying what we're enjoying, showing you our opening. And now I'm going to hand the reins over to Louisa to give you our title of our topic that we're going to be talking about today. MALO. Thank you, Louisa.
Thank you, Luseane.
Thank you, Louisa. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, well, Luseane, I thought, because we've been talking about healthy aging, and also on the radio these days, I always sort of hear them talking about all those health promotion sort of projects and programs, which are getting a lot of funding, you know, from our national, the federal government as well. I think it's our local, you know, governments. But so there's been a lot of funding towards the women's health, and that was before we talked a lot about that healthy aging. I think, do you get the feeling that they're trying to make things positive by always putting that word healthy in front of it?
So I think that sort of, you know, when someone says healthy, you start to feel a little bit, I don't know, engaged in some way.
Yes.
That it's good, it's going to be something good. So they're very clever, you know, language and words, and very clever, because as soon as they say healthy, people start to think about, oh, this is going to be good.
Yes.
This is going to be
because everybody wants to be in that stage.
We all want to be healthy. That's a good point, Lisa.
And also I think it's not so much like physical, medical health. It's about the general well-being. So, and that's what we need. Like even if you've got like some cardiac problems, or say diabetes or something like that, or something like that, Luseane,
Yes.
you know, the general health, we go by the World Health Organization sort of definition of health.
Yes.
Yeah, it's about physically, mentally, and spiritually well-being.
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
right, and it's all about happiness. I think it's about, because it's very positive. Yeah, but so I think we've talked about that stage of the lifespan. But today I thought about the school age children.
Yes.
I think because we were listening to them talking about the COVID-19, the different variants of the COVID-19, and they were discussing the vaccination for the younger children, remember? And
Yes.
lately on the news we've lost a couple of babies, you know, on the national news. So that really prompted me to think of something
Yes.
on that line. So today I thought we'll just sort of talk about that school age. Plus, those school kids have had a few changes in their school life with the COVID-19. And so I'll be talking about it between 5 and 12 years old. That's what we usually call the school age children. You know, after the toddlers, you'd think that getting on to the next stage will be a lot easier than little toddler, because we always talk about toddler health as like a little bit of a sometimes, you know, we just say toddler taming or things like that. And toddlers only had one problem, you know, it's like a serious lack of sense, you know, as a toddler. Whereas with the school aged children, although they're easier to understand because they can understand what you're saying, but also the thing is that that school age, that age group, 5 to 12, they go through not one but 2 different stages of development during these years. And remember, at the beginning, it's the beginning of primary school, and at the end, they're all getting ready for secondary school,
Yes.
for high school. So the 2 stages of development that they go through in this age group is that dependent and innocent stage between 5 and 8. You know how they believe that mom knows best.
Yes.
Do you go through that, Luseane?
Yes.
You know how your kids
Absolutely.
always ask you about things because they know that moms are smart, they know everything, and they answer all the questions that they, you know, they ask us. But then you get to much more to 8 and 12, and that's like they're much more independent and grown up stage, or they think that they're grown up. But also that's the age group that they still need a lot of supervision. With did you find that with the kids?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Louisa, because, you know, as you said, we are the all-knowing, you know, knowledge as far as our children are concerned. And even to the point sometimes where you tell them something, when you tell them something, they, you know, they listen. When their father tells them something, sometimes they're going to say, oh, I'll go and ask mum. So there's a humongous amount of trust between mother and child at a very young age. And as you were saying, Louisa, then they get to, you know, a little bit older, 8, 10, 11, they start to know, and they start to, you hear them saying, I know.
Yes.
That was the thing that came from it. I know, mum. You don't have to tell me.
Yeah.
And you used to say, you do not know. That's why I'm telling you. And that goes through the teenage years, I think, Louisa, you were saying, that, you know, them expressing that they know what they're doing, and they don't really, you know, I guess it's an independence.
But that's it.
Yeah.
They're getting to that age, you know, where they think that, you know, they're more confident in all their
Yes.
activities and stuff.
That's
But I guess the things that we were going to focus on today, it's about the healthy, active child, you know, and with that age, you know, it's about encouraging them to be more active, and them up, because that sets them up for a more healthy lifestyle.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And when you talk about their physical activity, they're supposed, the Australian government, we do, the recommendation is that they must have, or they should have, about 60 minutes of activity, of physical activity in their day, which means them just to strengthen their bones, the muscles and heart, and it improves their coordination. Remember how they start to be more aware of their coordination?
Yes.
Yeah, and that helps them with the balance and the posture and their flexibility. Because that's a time that some of the kids, even some of the little boys, they would do a little bit of dancing.
Yes.
You notice some of the boys, whereas before it was only the girls that used to do a little bit of that, but it's all about that coordination, at that age group.
And I think that when you talk about coordination, Louisa, and they're building up a stronger coordination and balance.
Yes.
And that goes all the way through to us, and when you're getting older, you're aging, that coordination is so important.
Exactly.
And it's that also, again, being fit so that you keep that coordination and that balance. So that's, as you're talking, it's so important, that stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, and like they say, if you start that at that age, that sets them up for a nice, healthier, lifestyle when they get to their older age, middle age, right throughout their lifespan.
Yes, they say healthy children, healthy adults.
That's right. Yes, that's it.
And healthy adults and healthy aging adults too.
And that also helps if they're active. It helps them with their weight. Remember how we've been saying about obesity?
Yes.
Yeah, lately, but I guess that's going to help them if they're more active. And making sure that it's about 60 minutes of their day.
Because I think, Louisa, it can be quite difficult for parents to coordinate or facilitate their children's, well-being, especially with, they talk about childhood obesity a lot now, because childhood obesity can lead to adult obesity.
Exactly.
And as you're saying, more activity, and better food and healthier food. Because I know with our Pacific Islander communities, I know that a lot of people talk about how a lot of our young children, or, even high school students and college students, have weight problems, which is really hard, I guess, if to get rid of, if the weight keeps building from a child all the way through, their adult, to high school and then to college, and the longer, I remember I was listening to some podcast on ABC, and they were saying the longer you keep weight on as from a child, all the way through to adolescence to adult, the harder it is to get rid of. So I guess it's, if we're being mindful, and it doesn't matter who it is, if we're mindful of what our children do, and as Louisa's saying, activity is so important.
Yes, that's right. The challenge is to encourage children to sit less and move more. That's it.
And Louisa, that also, when you're talking about sit less, I guess we're talking about, sitting in front of TV, in front of a computer, right? Playing games, and it's good to do that, and there's nothing wrong with doing that, as long as you said, is they've got that, is it 60 minutes you said a day?
60 minutes, to start off with.
It's a really good time.
It's a good time.
Yeah.
And also, trying to balance, that activity at that, and that sitting still sort of thing. And I guess with Australian children, they're spending more time, as we were saying, lying down, known as sedentary, behavior, often because they're using the electronic, the electronic stuff. Yeah.
That's right, Louisa. Because I'm thinking of my children who are now parents themselves, and how I was really into routine. It was just the way I was as a parent. And I guess it's because I was brought up, and I remember you saying we parent
The way we were parented.
as like we were, and my mum was into routine. There were naps and things, and time to eat and time to this, and breakfast was always at 7. So that's how I grew up. So my children were brought up like that, routine, come from school, get ready, go to sports, go to ballet, la 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 la. And that's, for me, routines made it easy.
Yeah.
And I don't know how
I think
people
because
are.
you know before you start your day,
Yes.
you know exactly what you're setting yourself up to.
Yeah, and I look at my children, and they are so not like that. One of them is
I think they go the other way.
which is good.
Yeah.
Which is good for them to be relaxed, because I just look at the way they are, and sometimes I say things like, well, they need to, and I think, keep quiet, please, Lucy. These are not your children, and they do it so beautifully, and I think our children do it differently from us, and it's good. It's good.
Yeah. And they say that even if your child is a very active child, because a lot of them join different activities at that age. They go to music, they go to sport, outside school hours, And then, do you remember that age? But they still benefit from sitting less.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what and children spend time sitting at school, doing their schoolwork, and they're reading. So it's important to strike that balance and find more opportunities, to sort of move.
Yes.
But do you know that age? If you ever seen that, Luseane, if you've got a kid who's there, they're doing this, we sometimes sort of, I guess that's where you set that balance, isn't it?
Yes.
That they don't really have to avoid sitting down. They can still sit down and relax and catch their breath.
They can, of course, I guess I was blessed with overactive children and they were busy doing a lot of stuff anyway. But with my grandchildren, I see a variety of them, which is so lovely to see too. Some of them are like this.
Really a mixture.
Yes, you and I often talk about how different this one is to that one, and how lovely that they're all different. Because it just is lovely to see children growing up and to see them taking note of certain things. I think my children as parents are a little bit stricter with diet. There's certain things that they're allowed to eat and certain things that they eat a lot less from. My children had a pretty good diet, but they had lots of little treats. I was good at giving people treats because I like treats anyway. So they had treats, a lot more treats than what children are given nowadays. And I noticed that, Louisa, with young parents now, that they restrict their children from having too much sugar, which is great, or having too much bread, or having different this, or too much dairy. And I think you do, as a parent, you do what you think is best for your child.
Yeah.
As long as you're not harming them and you're doing it for the best of your child, for their health and everything, go for it. I'm all for, even though it's not my way, but, that's the way people are when I look at the different parenting, of young people now.
And the thing is, like, we bring up our own children, the way, like, we thought was best at the time. But then they go off and marry somebody who was brought up differently.
Yes. How exciting.
Yeah. And quite often you see it's a good blend, because they pick the best of both.
Yes.
Of both parties,
Yes.
and they use that for their kids. And I guess that goes on, which is quite interesting, and it's quite good really to see. And also it's about what the government sort of, the health departments, or what dictates our health, at the time. It really goes up to higher than our federal government, isn't it? Yeah, that they set the routine, and they set and with researchers and staff, they always come out with different things. And sometimes you think, aren't we coming round in cycle?
I think we, at times, and sometimes, Louisa, sometimes, it's that thing of if something ain't broken, you shouldn't fix it. And, we've known that some of the things have been replicated now.
Yes.
Things that you've seen, Louisa, in your past, how many years of work, it's now coming back and you're thinking, but we talked about that, or we talked to people about that 20 odd years ago. And I think it's good that it's coming back. So it means that some researcher somewhere in government found out that it's all right to have this much and it's all right to not have this one at all. And I think it just means that the world is moving. I know our government, state and territory, are very proactive.
Yes.
With the child health stuff and all the research, school health, whatever. It's great. And I know that that's been a big part of your life, in your work life, Louisa, is overseeing all that stuff, looking at all the new information and putting it into place. And I guess, as you said, you're seeing it happening again. It's coming back again, which is good.
Which goes to show, Luseane, that the basics remains the same.
Remains the same.
Yeah, because I often say, when we used to run a lot of parenting groups, and then some of the mothers used to come, with the young moms, and then they say, oh yeah, but don't they do it so differently now? But I always reassure them, I said, look, the basics still the same. We just change the language and we change the environment around it. But the basic is still much the same.
It is.
Yeah, it's just a generational, thing. And also, it's about, like what you were saying, it's about all the latest researchers that sort of goes to prove. Because now you always talk about the best practice, that sort of brings it, what sort of dictates all the policies and stuff, at the moment. But yeah, like the Australian government sort of recommended kids ages 2 to 5 should spend no more than 1 hour a day in front of the screen. And no screen time recommended for those under the age of 2.
Yes.
So they're talking about recreational screen time,
Yes.
Because like we were saying, when they get to primary school, Luseane, most of their stuff are online and they're, electronically, electronically sort of given,
Because I know that, with my children, there was very limited time for TV. And, because they had a lot of programs for children that time, but they still had very limited time. And also, after school, they were busy anyway with extracurricular activities, so there wasn't really time for screen. So usually screen time came on a Friday night. That's when they could watch a video, and there was enough. They didn't miss out on anything by having very limited screen time of TV. Nowadays, there's so much, as you said, Louisa, there's so much that kids do online, and like us too, we do a lot online. So when they do a lot online, all the more I think there needs to be a lot more notice taken of how much time they are spending in front of a screen, As you said, some of the screen time is
recreational that we have to monitor.
Yes.
Because they'll be on the screen while they're doing their homework and stuff like that,
And researching as they do, I know that even my primary school grandchildren are researching topics because they have to write on something.
That's right,
In my day, growing up, we was having a look at the encyclopedia, but now they just look on Google and do their work. So of course, as you said.
Yeah, so they're saying even the children ages 5 to 12 spend no more than the 2 hours a day, and that's for entertainment, but including TV, the electronic games, the portable, electronic devices and computers only for the recreational reasons. Yes.
It is, I'm not talking about myself because I do like a bit of entertainment time in front of the screen. We're talking about little children and, children that are growing up and, talking about brain health and cognitive
development
and that stuff. It doesn't really, as I remember you saying, the ability, you know, cognitive ability, if they have too much screen time, too much of this, all the things that they need, that needs developing properly, doesn't really develop. You know, it comes to a bit of a halt and a bit of a stop. So all
But
this
it's about
information.
that balance.
Yes,
Isn't it? It's
yes.
about that balance because they need to enjoy their development as well, you know. And also at that time, we can be telling our kids, but we're supposed to be role modeling as well. You know, for example, if I have my grandkids at home and their parents don't let them, you know, watch TV, but if they have a grandfather who sits there and watches the TV for most of the time, you know, they can get very tricky. Because the kids will say, oh, I want to stay with grandpa. Because you know why they want to stay. But it's
That's
about
right.
that role modeling, you know, for us parents, I think. Because I can always tell the difference, like with my son's, with his family. You hardly see the TV on during the day. And then because we get that, and you know who puts it on, you know, and because the kids think, oh, well, if grandpa can watch it,
Why can't
so
I?
yeah, that's it. But it's about us, you know, making sure that the environment sort of suits what you're trying to teach them, and not to sort of leave anything that's going to, excuse me, it's not going to tempt them, you know, to sort of break the rules.
And it's no use saying, you know, don't do as I do, do as I say, because children are so clever, you know, and articulate, and they know absolutely when, you know, when you're not saying, when you're not being honest, because kids are, but why, as you said before, why is grandpa doing it? Why can't I? And what do we say when they ask?
They don't
the
see
question?
any difference between
Yes,
the ages,
they don't.
you know.
They don't, because we're saying too much TV is not good for you, and yet how much
Why
TV
is
is not
he
good
watching
for
it?
maybe, and they're thinking, oh, so it's not good for children, but it's good for grandparents.
And then you hear them saying it's not fair. It's not fair. But I guess here in Australia, like, and also in Tonga where we grew up, you know, there's a lot of activities out there in the community. So it's about just encouraging them, and you know, they're allowed to have a choice, isn't it? And we sort of usually talk to them, well, if you want to do that, then you have to cut this out and make that balance work for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so...
You know, I would just remember, Louisa, when we were in Tonga, and my son and his family visited Tonga too, and they were, like, my daughter-in-law just could not, she just kept going outside to have a look, because the children next door were playing in the trees, singing, or what she said, they're always singing and they're so happy, just singing and playing and running
and they
around.
play outside, isn't
absolutely.
Because they're used to that, like,
Yes.
yeah. And I guess it's about the space.
Yes.
It's about like here, because our kids would have their own spaces and a bit of privacy
and
inside.
yes.
Yeah, sometimes.
And she said something that sort of, you know, rang a bell for me, because she said, you know, children, these children outside there, the village children, they don't have to be entertained.
No.
They've grown up entertaining themselves.
Yes.
And I think, you know, the world of television and games, we've introduced that to our children, but it's made them less able to entertain themselves, and they need to be entertained by, you know, a screen or something. But when she said that, I thought, that's right, these kids have just woken up, had something to eat, come running outside, climbed a tree, ran around with sticks and, you know, playing happily and singing, entertaining themselves.
Yeah, and that's part of the parenting too. Because sometimes you can mollycoddle, you know, the kids.
No.
You know, and I wanted, and it's a different environment as well, Luseane, isn't it? Because in Tonga, you know, they're safe and you can hear them, parents can hear their voices.
Yes.
And the next door neighbours, and you don't really have to watch out for somebody that might come and take off with your kid. It's about that safety, isn't it, at that age?
Yes, when you're saying about the parents can hear them, And you hear also, you hear parents saying, why are you quiet? Come back for a long while. Why are you quiet?
What are you up to?
Where is Sione? Come back for a long while. And maybe Sione is up to no good because he's quiet. But you saying that stuff, it resonates with me because you remember what it's like in Tonga, and there's a lot. I guess there's a lot to be said by the way we were brought up in Tonga in the past, and all very good, and we didn't have the screens and the tablets and the TVs and whatever that children now have. Now parents have to negotiate and to try and find a way, negotiate with their children as to how much screen time they have.
Also there was a time, remember, the government, they do have a lot of say in how you bring up your kids, and it's like the safety, and it's about, and also it's about that developmental milestones, because they're supposed to develop and what the activities are and everything. And that's the thing about this age group, excuse me, Lucy, about this age group, because at 4 years of age we always have that developmental stage, making it by then all the immunisations are up to date, the childhood immunisations, at 4 before they enter that school age, sort of things. And we do monitor the developmental stages, because it's about that balance. And if you think that somebody is a little bit behind the language development, it's about that monitoring. And then we always have the services in our own community, like in ACT, with ACT Health Services. If you think that this kid, at about school age, they're not pronouncing their word, it's about looking for that. What's the word for the child? Everything, they're doing everything for that perfect child, isn't it?
Yes.
But it does make sense, because that helps them with their studies.
Absolutely, and it is so very important, and I know that teachers are trained up to watch out for those developmental issues.
That's right.
That aren't working or are working. Because even if a child is underweight, and that, Louisa, because you've talked about that a lot. Underweight or not quite, as you said, not quite speaking, not quite cognitive, is not quite working.
They set this graph.
Yes.
The kid at that age should be, with their weight, they should be travelling up this way on the graph. And then the poor kid, a Tongan kid, we usually come across those island kids.
Yes.
For that age, they're